Warning, this content is for entertainment and educational purposes only. This video is brought to you by First Detachment Nutrition. Battle tested, expert formulated. Use discount code AB10 at checkout for 10% off. All right, folks, Big Paul here today, and I'm going to talk to you about a little story. It's about how my form sucked and getting hurt and getting old made me fix it and made me a better bodybuilder. We're going to dig into all that in just 1 second. All right, so one of the really hard things to deal with as you age as a bodybuilder is training. Training is something that you fall in love with when you're younger, and there's a certain style of training. I love to train hard. I love to go to failure on everything. I love to feel like I left everything in the gym, blood, guts, sweat, tears, Dorian Yates style, where I would have to crawl out of the gym, just about ripped every muscle off the bone, feeling like I was on the verge of death when I was younger. And I thought about this because I was watching some young guys train the other day at my gym. And very, very rarely do I see guys train with intensity. And these guys were just ripping it. They were getting in there. Their form was a little shitty. And I thought to myself, God damn it. If I could go back in time and tell myself to be a little more careful, I'm not saying train like a complete wuss, but just be a little more thoughtful and a little more careful with how I trained, that I probably would have saved myself a bunch of injuries and made even better progress in the long term. Now, I do think there's a time when you're young that you have to get after it. You have to get stronger, that you do have to progress. You do have to learn where your limits are, and you do have to push things. But I tell you, most of the stuff that I did when I was younger just ended up getting me hurt and not really added a whole lot to things. Now, I miss that style of training. Psychologically, it's hard to give up. And I think when you're young, you can get away with it. It's much like playing a backyard football game. I tell guys this all the time. I work with dudes that are older. Most of my guys are older bodybuilders, 40 plus masters bodybuilders. I do work with some younger guys. But when I'm working with these guys and they still try to train like they're 20, I ask them, would you go out and play a backyard tackle football game like you would when you were 25 or 22 or 18 and expect to not get hurt and to be able to get up and go to work the next day and to recover from it and be able to do it over and over again? The answer is no. You can't do that when you get older. You just can't. Why in the world would you train like you were when you were 24 or 25 when you're 45? You can't do it. And I see guys that are my age or younger, they stop progressing because they're so married to the old hardcore style of training that they did when they're in their 20s. Benches, squats, deadlifts, heavy barbell rows, all these things that were cool when you were 25 that you just can't do when you're 45. All right, folks, I want to take a quick break from this episode to tell you about the new e-course that Kurt Havens and I have put together, The Scientific Principles of Anabolics and PEDs. This is the most comprehensive PED e-course ever put together with over 80 modules, including intros to PEDs, major steroid profiles, competitor off-season cycles, non-competitor cycles, contest prep cycles, HGH fundamentals, insulin fundamentals, side effect management, safer use concepts, fat loss agents, estrogen management, and advanced PED and hypertrophy science. It is the best course out there of its kind. Go check it out. Link is in the video description below. Getting old, getting hurt, made me a better bodybuilder. I had to go back through and reinvent my training. I had to rethink things. I had to go back and take a serious look at how I was doing things and how to select exercises, how to perfect my form, and to really learn how to train as an aging bodybuilder and to get things nailed down so I could stay in the gym. My thought process is, if you're training so hard you can't recover, if you're training with crazy intensity and getting yourself hurt, it doesn't matter how hard you go. If you get hurt every couple weeks and you have to take a couple weeks off or pull your intensity way back so you can recover from a sore elbow or from a muscle tear or from being beat up or overtrained, it's pointless then, because you're not going to progress if you're not in the gym and if you're not training. I found it's better to go 90%, 100% of the time than to go 100%, 50% of the time. Like, it's what I found as an older bodybuilder. If you want to make great progress, you have to think long term. You have to live to lift another day. No single workout is worth risking the next 5 workouts for. And that is a mindset that was really hard for me to wrap my head around. I treated every workout like it was a life and death situation. That hardcore mentality that I had when I was younger, that you just can't do when you're in your 40s. I often wonder if younger lifters wouldn't benefit from a change of philosophy in being more intelligent about how they train. Part of it is exercise selection. And this is something that I had to really think about, and I didn't consider deeply until I read Dr. Mike Israetel's book, The Scientific Principles of Hypertrophy. I think that's what it's called. I may have slaughtered that name, so I apologize to him. But thinking about the cost versus benefit analysis that you have to do on an exercise. For me, something like deadlifts. What is the benefit versus the risk of me doing a deadlift at 50 years old? Is it really going to provide me that much of a benefit that it's worth tearing my back up and being out of the gym with a bad back injury? Is it really worth the fatigue cost if I go in and do a hard set of deadlifts and I'm out of the gym for a week trying to recover from that hard set of deadlifts? My back's all stiff and sore and I can't train. Is that better than maybe just skipping those and doing something else? Also, would I be better off saving that fatigue and doing 4 or 5 sets of something else? Same thing with squats. Would I be better off not doing squats, a hard set of squats that has a high injury risk, versus benefit a hard set of barbell squats that is going to cause a lot of fatigue, where I might have been better off using some hack squats or leg presses where I could do a few more sets and get more stimulus? Would I be better off doing those? You have to think about, what is the injury risk on an exercise? What is the fatigue cost of an exercise? Those are things that I have to evaluate when I'm lifting. Now, also, it's the form too, the form on the exercise. I used to be completely focused on moving as much weight as I possibly could. And it took me a long time to understand that more weight doesn't always equal more hypertrophy. And I'm going to explain. Yes, tension, mechanical tension, is the primary driver of hypertrophy, but the muscle doesn't know what the weight is on the other end of the bar. The muscle only experiences the tension that's placed on it. You could just have gotten better at leveraging the movement. You could have changed things mechanically in your form to more efficiently move that weight from point A to point B without actually placing more tension on the muscle. Just think of a lever and a fulcrum, if you go back to high school physics class, where if you move the fulcrum, you get more leverage on the rock that's on the other end of it. The weight hasn't changed on the other end. The weight is the same, but you've increased the leverage. Therefore, the weight experienced on the other end is lighter, or maybe it doesn't place as much tension, but the weight on the other end is still the same. So considering this, powerlifters, and I think this is where a lot of bodybuilders, especially guys my age, make that mistake and still think that they have to heave weight and move as much weight around as they possibly can. That's not the answer a lot of times. It's perfecting your form, taking a step back and thinking about, am I actually feeling this on the muscle? Am I actually placing the most amount of load on the muscle with using the least amount of weight and placing mechanical tension to elicit hypertrophy? This is something I did not consider. And a lot of times when I have had crap progress on a body part, I'll give you an example. My back is definitely lagging behind at this point. My back hasn't come up like my other body parts have over these last 4 or 5 years. And I had this mentality that I had to heave around as much weight as humanly possible on barbell rows, on T-bar rows, on whatever back movement that I was doing. And when I had an exercise physiologist look at my movements, I was just rowing with my traps in my arms. I wasn't actually rowing with my back. I got really efficient at the movement and moving a lot of weight around, but I wasn't actually placing tension on the muscles that I was trying to grow. So no wonder my back didn't grow. So I took a step back, and this is what I have done with a lot of my exercises, is pulled back the weight, corrected my form, get my form to a point where I'm placing the most mechanical tension on the muscle that I'm trying to grow, and then start progressing that weight up again. That's a huge mistake that I made, and I think that's an ego lift, as we would call it. An ego lift mistake that a lot of bodybuilders make, and most people don't outgrow that phase. And I'm not saying this to be a braggart, but I think I have made just about as much progress from age 45 to 50 as anybody on the planet. There may be a few people out there that have done the same. And a huge part of it is having to reinvent my training, being very intelligent with my training. Yes, I take PEDs, those help, but there's plenty of guys that take PEDs that don't grow. I'm very meticulous with my diet. That plays a component into it. But a big part of it has been being more mindful with my training, selecting the right exercises, making sure that once I have those exercises selected, that my form is buttoned up and correct. And that is a huge slap in the face when it comes to your ego. Having to take a step back, lightening your weight up, and making sure that you are putting the right amount of tension on the muscle. My ego got in the way a lot of times because it's always sort of a shot at you when the young guy sees you. Man, I thought you were stronger than that. Why are you only using the 85s or whatever on a dumbbell press? Why aren't you using more? I'm shocked that you aren't stronger than that. It doesn't really matter. It's only your ego that's getting bruised when you're not moving as much weight. I see guys all the time that are way smaller than me that are heaving weight around and not actually placing tension on the muscle. It was the same thing with my arms. I realized for years that my arms weren't growing, and I was going way too heavy on my arm exercises. I didn't realize that I was not placing tension on my biceps. My biceps didn't grow. I was doing basically front delt curls, and I wasn't getting full range of motion and actually placing tension on my biceps through full range of motion. And my front delts got huge because I was curling like this. It's essentially a front delt movement. And lo and behold, a crazy thing happened when I pulled back my weight and I was more mindful of placing load on the muscle that I'm trying to work, actually feeling it in the muscle that I'm trying to work, getting a full range of motion, correcting my form. Then all of a sudden, my biceps started to grow. Same thing with my triceps. So, gentlemen, I will tell you, if you're struggling with growing, and you're getting older and you're struggling with injuries, a lot of times the problem is not that you're getting older. It's that you're choosing the wrong exercises for your age. Choose age-appropriate exercises and fix your crappy form. That's probably why you stopped growing. That's probably why you're getting injured. That's probably why you can't do the same things you could when you were younger. And I guarantee you, if you get very meticulous with your exercise selection and your form and tighten things up, you'll start progressing again. All right, folks, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I appreciate each and every one of you. Check out the Science of Anabolics and PED's e-course. It's awesome. It's on the Anabolic Bodybuilding website. We have a free preview of it up. There's a couple of the courses that are free. Check it out. Thank you for watching. For coaching or consultations, head over to www.anabolicbodybuilding.com to book your spot today. I can help you with optimizing hormones, fat loss, muscle gain, physique, athletic performance, nutrition, and health. For more information, shoot me an email at bigp3rd@gmail.com.